All right, welcome back to another episode of Path of Purpose. Today I'm here with Jason Scalora. Jason is the co-founder co-founder and CEO of CJ Media. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. And today we're here just gonna talk about how he finds meaning in his work. So yeah, Jason, I'd love to know how you navigated starting a business while at college, and um, how you navigated that. Like, what was that like?
Well, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it, man. I mean, honestly, it was a long time coming because going into my sophomore going into my junior year is when I started my TikTok page, and that started doing well. That's when you and I met, and I really was just creating content around mindset, mental health, self improvement, that sort of thing. And then a couple of years had passed. Well, like no, more like a year had passed, and then I moved onto campus at CCSU, Central Connecticut State University, and I met my now business partner Cal, and him and I were very aligned in terms of our beliefs. He was also creating content online. He had like a mini podcast, nothing crazy, just like kind of filming on his phone, just kind of putting stuff out there about like mindset, mental health, psychology, that sort of thing. And him and I met through that. We were just friends. Like business a business idea wasn't even like, starting a business together wasn't even an idea at that point. Um, but then year and a half later, when we were both about to graduate in 2023, so a year ago, slightly over a year ago now, we had the idea. Well, this was Jan around January of 2023 is when we had the idea of starting a business. We didn't really know what we wanted to do, but we knew we wanted to do something for ourselves. Like we were big on the idea of working for ourselves, not necessarily like the whole cliche thing of create your own hours, because I think anybody that thinks that's why you should start a business is going to fail because you don't create your own hours. Your hours are all day, every day when you're awake, even when you're eating, even when you're on the toilet is when you're working if you want to start a business. So, we were very much of the understanding of like, we know it's going to be a grind. We know we're going to be working our tails off, but we wanted to do it anyways because we wanted to start our own thing and we wanted to be financially free as not only as fast as possible, but, on our own terms. We were not interested in, working for anybody else. We wanted to, abide by our own rules. And I think it's that's a big taking factor for a lot of entrepreneurs, but as cliche as it was for us as well. And him and I were both very disciplined. The thing for me when I was considering starting a business with anyone, let alone Cal, was, ironically, one of the things for me was like, do they work out on a consistent basis? Like, you don't have to be a bodybuilder or whatever like Cal is, but do they have the discipline to maintain a regimen around their own physical health? And for me, it wasn't a, body, positivity sort of thing or a fat shaming sort of thing. It was, are they consistent? Like, period. That was it. And so for me, that was my deciding factor of like, yes, I want to get into business with this guy because like of who he is as a man, as a dude. Like, is he going to be consistent with life? Is he going to be willing to wake up and do the hard things that we have to do when he doesn't feel like doing it, which translates directly into the gym? Because I knew one thing for sure is I didn't know anything about business, but I did know that whatever it is I was going to do, it was going to be hard, and that I needed to stay consistent and stick it through. And I knew that this was the guy. So, long-winded answer of getting to, at the time, he was somewhat into cameras. He kind of had a little passion for it. He did some stuff for the rec center, so like intramural sports, little stuff, nothing with the actual Division 1 teams at our school. And he made a couple hype videos here and there for free, just like a passion project. And that's kind of where we were with cameras at the time, which means I knew nothing. I never owned a camera in my life, never had a passion for videography, photography. Like, took one photography class for credit, but knew literally zero a year and a half ago about cameras. And we were always spitballing ideas back and forth about starting a business. Cal and I, for a couple months, we were like, we could do this, we could start personal training, we can do online coaching, we could do this, we could do that. Like, we had a couple different ideas. None of them really hit home, um, and none of them really stuck. And then out of nowhere, Cal called me. I remember I was walking out of the student center one day. I'll never forget. He called me. He's like, dude, sports videography. That's it. And I was like, bro, and we had this like enlightening moment of like the bro, let's start a podcast moment. It was kind of like that same vibe. I'm like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it happen. And
Mm.
um, and then we went all in. We went completely all in. That was in probably December of 2022, and then in January of 2023, I think it was like the first couple days of the month, we both just spent probably cumulatively like 10 to 15 grand on good cameras and good lenses, and we had no business plan. Like there was no like, oh, we have this team under contract that we know we're gonna get paid for. We were just stupid, and we're just like, let's just buy all the gear we can get our hands on. So we bought a couple of nice cameras and started going to work for free, and we grinded for free. And I actually have been, lucky enough and mindful enough to take videos of the process. But there were countless nights where we stayed up going to CCSU basketball games and editing videos that, looking at them now, they were awful. And they're still on the CCSU page. You can go back to, January of 2023 and look at them. They're awful. Um, but we would stay up till like 3 in the morning to grind and get these videos done in hopes that eventually something might come from it. We didn't even know, like, we didn't know anything about anything. Like, we still don't know anything about anything. Like, I'm in my mom's backyard right now. Like, we're only a year into business. Like, I want, like, before I get into anything else about like business ideas or who am I as an entrepreneur? Like, I'm still doing it. Like I'm still in the process of grinding. I'm still like, obviously it's never gonna, it's always a grind. But like I'm not at a point where I'm like in my penthouse with my business exit for $100 million where I can speak on my high horse. Because if honestly anyone were to ask me any business advice, my first answer is go to Alex Hermosi and go to Gary Vee and consume the hell out of their content and scale your business. Don't take my advice because any of my advice is going to be secondary to their advice, which I'm just implementing in my own life to the best of my ability. So that's the caveat there. But that's, the journey that I took with Cal to get to where we're at. And over the span of the past year and a half, we've scaled from nothing to now we're going to be going into next year. We'll have probably by the end of next year, we'll probably have anywhere between 10 to 20 full school clients that we do work for. And all of those are 5-figure contracts. So, we've done a lot over the past year and a half to get from where we were of just optimistic college seniors with a dream to now the point where we're actually making a living off of it and can actually hire out employees and really start getting the business gears churning. So that's the long-winded answer of where I was, 3 years ago to where I am now. So yeah.
Wow. How did you how did you navigate that time when you were deciding to go all in?
To me, it wasn't even like oh, Jason is so courageous thing. It was really more of I was terrified of seeing what the other people around me were doing. Because when I took a look at the traditional 9 to 5 path of people a couple of years older than me, people a lot older than me, people that were my age, getting the jobs, doing the internships, doing the traditional thing you're supposed to do because, mom and dad and the university says you should, like they were all the most miserable people I knew. And the happiest people I knew were the people that owned their own business and did their own thing. They were the busiest and they had the most going on in their lives, like in terms of not being able to vacation a lot and do whatever. But they were the wealthiest, they were the happiest, they were the healthiest, they were the most fulfilled, they were the most spiritually connected. They were the people that I admired, not just because of the money or the business or the expensive car or the houses in Florida. It was like they had the life I wanted to live. They had like when I looked at the people that owned a business that were I know a couple guys in their 50s and 60s and they have big families and when I look at their relationship with their kids, like their kids look up to them as a leader. Their kids look up to them as like my dad like did it. My dad's a great guy. Again, not because of the business, but because of the life path that he decided to pursue. And so my decision to start a business it wasn't because I was so, courageous and so willing to go against the grain. It was because I was so afraid of the opposite. There was, of course, a big pull of like, yes, I would love to make a lot of money. That would be great. Yes, I would like to get out of my mom's house. That would be great. Yes, I would like to go do the thing and have my name on billboards. Of course, significance feels great. But 90% of it, 95% of it was because I was so afraid of contributing to the rat race and living a life where I sat back thinking, I didn't give it my all. Because ultimately, you graduate college, how much of a window do you have? Like if you just, play out your life. For me, right? If me and my girlfriend get married in 5, 6, 7 years, and then we have a family and kids, and I'm 30 years old, I'm 23 now, and we have family and kids, am I going to be able to just quit my job and throw everything out and say I'm going to go start a videography and editing business? Absolutely not. You got bills to pay. Kids need to go to soccer practice. They need meals. They got to go to school. They need a book. They need a book bag and pencils and stuff. Like you got stuff to do. Like you have obligations. You have responsibilities. I'm 23 years old. I started the business at 22. I got nothing going on. Like really, like you want to talk about real? Like people think, oh, I got to do this and I had to get the apartment and the car and this and that and the house. And otherwise grandma's going to judge you. Who cares? Like I can screw up for 5 years. This whole business idea, it looks like it's going well. It could just blow up in my face any day. I could be 5 years down the road. I could be worth $100 million. And the whole thing could blow up in my face. I could have this much left in my account, and I could still live with my mom and be in her backyard doing nothing, and I would be fine. But that's not going to be the case in 7 years when I have a family and bills to pay and things, responsibilities, like real responsibilities, not like I need a job responsibility of like my kids need to eat kind of responsibility. And so, the combination of the fear of, not fear of being average, because I don't think there's anything wrong with being average. I think it's the fear of not, I wish there was a better way to put it, the fear of not pursuing my potential. So, sorry, I got a call. I'm going to put my phone to disturb. I did not know it was going to do that. That's what kicked me into gear to say, like, I'm going to send it. And I'm going to send it completely. Like I'm not going to leave anything left on the table because as much as it seems great to like have a big business and be recognized for it and people to help you feel significant because you own a business and you make a lot of money, that's not really what drove me. What drove me was like I'm going to die and I'm going to look back and I'm going to be I'm going to be a dad and my kids are going to look at me and they're either going to say my dad killed it, my dad went for it, he took the risk, he inspired me, he inspired others to go pursue their thing, or they're going to say, my dad was an accountant and he had a 9 to 5 and he provided for us and he was nice. I liked my dad. He was a great guy. Or they could be like, hell yeah, that's my dad. Like, that's the guy that inspired me to go do my thing. Regardless of what your thing is. If your thing is a 9 to 5 and it is accounting and you just love the hell out of that, then by all means, go do your thing, but do it to the best of your ability. Go all in. And so to me, that's not what it was. My thing was, I knew Cal, I knew me, I knew that whatever it is that I wanted to do, it was going to be my own thing. And it just turned out to be videography. And it's working out pretty well. But again, it was fear of not doing that more than anything else.
Mm. So, as that being your primary motivator,
Hmm.
what would you say was, what would you say needed to change from who you were in college versus who you are now?
There's a bunch of things. And I talk about this a lot. A lot of things fell into place for me that were out of my control for this to happen. Like, prime example, I live with my mom. My mom could pay for my expenses. I still pay rent in my house, but I don't have to. My mom could pay for all my expenses, and I would be fine. Like, talk about being a part of the 1%. Like, I'm blessed with this opportunity to pursue my business in the first place. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, I have it so tough, or like my life was so difficult to begin with, and I have some tragic horror story of how I got here. It's like, no, like I grew up great. My parents loved me. I never had to worry about, when bills were going to be paid, if I was going to have enough food. Like, basic stuff was always provided to me. So like that's ground level. Like I have the ability to pursue this because I can. Like I had a good head on my shoulders growing up. My parents taught me how to save money. That's how I bought the cameras. Like I was in a great spot to start off with. But what was the question?
What needed to change from who you
What needed to
were?
change? Right. Um, you know, with that said, growing up, I wasn't the bully. I wasn't like an absolutely horrible person, but by no means did I have my life together. Like I didn't, but like most guys, you're 16, you're 18, you're 20 years old. Like you don't have your shit together. Can I swear?
Yeah.
You don't have your shit together. Like you don't really know what's going on. And of course not. Like you're 18, you're 20, you're a freshman in college. Of course you don't know what's going on. But for me, like a lot of young men, my ego was out of control. I was out chasing women for a lot of my time. I was always trying to show people how great I was in any way I could, whether it was through athletics or whether it was through just being the funniest guy in the room or the smartest guy in the room or trying to appear like the best looking or whatever it was. And I know a lot of guys struggle with that too, but for me, that journey took place, especially when I started creating content, on TikTok and on Instagram a couple years ago in 2020, when I really started taking a look at my life spiritually from a perspective of like, okay, I need to get my shit together from a perspective of like, I need to become a fulfilled individual. I need to drop my ego. I need to start learning how to contribute to other people. I need to start learning how to, be a good human being, as cliche as that sounds. And so for me and for Cal, again, if we look back, that's how we met. And so Cal and I both had our shit together mentally, psychologically, before we even thought about a business, which is why I think we're scaling at the rate that we're scaling, because we got ourselves together first. And no, by no means are we perfect. Of course, we have our flaws, but we really got a good foundation for who we are as men in our own lives to then take a stance of like, okay, now we can attack this whole business thing from the right mindset. And so for me, that plays in so many different ways of like learning how to communicate with others, like in a business, like understanding that everything is relationships and reciprocity. Like me at 18 years old would have absolutely no idea how to really maintain a good, healthy relationship, especially when it's with somebody else that runs a university when their ego's out of whack. Because maybe 18-year-old me would have a contract, conversation with somebody, and when they're like, "Oh, can you do it for a cheaper price?" I'm gonna be like, "Oh, screw you! This guy sucks," and burn bridges everywhere and tarnish my whole business because I didn't understand the whole fundamentals behind the psychology of being a good person first and running the business from that mindset. Now, that's just one example of like kind of where that whole self improvement journey took me to be able to, get over that hump of being ready to start a business. But, you can start a business without it. However, fundamentally don't think you're going to do it well. Maybe I'm wrong, but I definitely know you're not going to do it and be happy, because you're just going to have a lot more work and be a lot more miserable because it's going to be magnified by the fact that you have a lot more going on because you started a business. So for me, again, to answer your question in a very long-winded answer, it's really just doing the work necessary internally before you start a business, because for me, that is what, when you take a look at Cal, that's the thing that's going to propel us forward. It's not, having the right pitch or having the right business idea or finding the right market. Yeah, all those things matter, but what matters most is being disciplined. What matters most is being a good person. What matters most is putting your morals and your integrity above everything else before making any dollar. For us, that's what matters the most. And ironically, it's the thing that's going to scale our business the quickest. So, yeah.
How did you come to that realization of that's what you needed to grow?
That realization, I don't think I came to that realization. I think that realization came to me because I started the business after I started my self improvement journey. And so for me, it wasn't even like, oh, cool, now I have my wisdom in check, so now I can start a business. It was like I had enough business meetings with people who don't have their shit together that I maintain those relationships super well. So now I'm in a spot where my business scales much quicker because I know how to maintain those relationships. That's just one example. Like, here's a great example. There's a lot of guys that are really, really egoically driven that we have to do business with, and they don't know how to scale a business because they're not good people. Their product is amazing, their photography and their videography is amazing, but they're annoying people. They're selfish, they don't share, they don't know how to be a good person, but their service and their product is unbelievable. It's quick, it's great, it's in 4K, yada yada, they have the whole nine. But they don't have more than 5 clients and they've been in the game for literally 20 years, but they can't scale. But why? Why is my business triple the size of theirs and I've only been in the game 1/25th of what they've been? It's because, and very obviously, I put self-improvement paramount. I put my integrity paramount. I put being a good person paramount to everything else. And so for us, that's, again, that wisdom didn't really, it wasn't like I was doing self-improvement thinking, oh, this would be great to start a business. It was, I had enough business lessons learning, oh, wow, my ass was saved just because I was a good dude. Like, I really decided, even though I'm annoyed at this guy right now and I'm not, I got screwed over in X, Y, and Z, I'm going to keep my integrity as the thing that's most important. And so things are going to end up working out. And I've just had to trust that. But that all came from working on myself before I started the business, if that makes sense. I don't know if that really makes sense.
So it almost came into fruition, the business as a product of working on yourself.
100%. Like the business is going to be a good success. I truly believe that we're going to be a massive success. But that all became that's all going to become because I met Cal and because Cal met me. Like we have a great partnership here, and that's why things are going to scale at the rate they're going to continue to scale at. But I would have never jived with Cal if I hadn't had 2, 3, 4 years of self improvement under my belt, and same vice versa. Like we met at the gym. Like that's a perfect example. We met literally. Someone introduced us. Hey, I think you guys would like each other because we had a mutual friend. They were like, you guys are both into self improvement. You both work out a ton. You guys are both trying to get your lives together. It seems like in a similar path. Cal, meet Jason. And I was literally doing tricep pushdowns when I met him. And I was like, what's up, man? Really nice to meet you. And then we started talking about TikTok, podcast, whatever. And like none of that would have happened. We wouldn't have connected the way we connected if we both hadn't had these couple years of really getting our shit together before that. And then 2 years down the road, like God put this in our path to say, okay, great. Now do this thing. Like now start this business. And so that's kind of the way things have worked out. But again, it all just started from just getting your shit together, like being a good dude. Like as simple as it sounds, like if you're disciplined, you're a good person, you can start a business. I don't care what it is. Like so long as it's not trying to, sell newspaper because it's a dying industry, if it's something somewhat scalable, you'll kill it. Because you're a good dude and you're disciplined. That's all it takes, sincerely.
Has your relationship with Cal shifted in any way since you guys started the business together?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, because when we started, me and him, we were always talking about life, philosophies on everything, you know, really just, the cliche stuff, that you get into, like the cliche, like getting disciplined, getting around better people, like the obvious sort of stuff. When we would dive deep into all those conversations, which are great, but it shifted from that to like, okay, let's scale this business. And so like the things that we had conversations with hundreds of hours, and a lot of them are documented on our podcast of like, those are the conversations we had for, 2 years. And then eventually we got to the point where, okay, we start the business, we're scaling the business. And so like like our relationship is now like pretty much 90% of the stuff we talk about is business, but it's also like by choice. Like this is what we love doing. Of course we have like a friendship outside of the business, but like this is just what we love to do. We're both very obsessed with scaling the thing. And so our relationship has shifted from, self-improvement podcast talk to now let's make $100 million talk, and let's do it the right way talk. So that's kind of how
Yeah.
things have shifted, but it's been beautiful. Like, we talk about it all the time, like on a regular basis, of how grateful we are to just have each other and be in a spot where like we're blessed enough to, be alive, even in a free country,
Yeah.
have use of all my limbs, not have a brain injury or disorder, have all these things fall into place for us to just be able to be here. But then again,
Yeah.
to be with one another and have this, cooperation that we can really scale this thing at 100x of what we could alone. Um, so yeah.
That's beautiful. It seems like your relationship shifted from like talking about the things you wanted to improve versus
Yeah.
and then trans transforming into actually doing those things.
Doing.
And
Yeah.
the business was just like the vehicle for you
Yeah.
guys.
100%. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Because it's very, like, it wouldn't take much of a deep dive to really see how those things have played out tangibly in the business. So
Mhm.
that's a great way of putting it.
Hmm. How do you see it? How do you see your relationship developing in the future, and as
With
your
Cal,
business continues to grow? Yes.
you're saying. So we talk about it often because our personalities are very different naturally, which is why we work so well together. I'm definitely more of a talkative. I enjoy the spotlight kind of guy. Cal's more of a, not that he doesn't enjoy the spotlight, but he's definitely more of like he needs his alone time. He needs time to be outside by himself. Like every morning when I wake up and I look outside, like he's outside in the sun. His phone's in his room. Like he's MIA. He just needs that kind of away time. Like he's energized. He gets his energy through being alone and then spends that energy when he's with others. I'm the opposite of like, I got no energy when I'm alone. But as you can tell, when I'm talking to somebody else, I just keep talking and talking and talking just because like that's where I get my energy from. I'm just more of, extroverted, introverted kind of, clash, as corny as that sounds. Um, but our relationship as things are scaling is really going to shift, but I don't think it's going to change, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think we're going to change as people, but I think, the way we operate within the business is going to change vastly because, when we take a look at, for example, one of the things we always talk about is how we're going to manage hiring things out because Cal is great with, how did you word it? Because you said like the Layla Alex Ramosi dynamic of like, you'll work with the teams and I'll be the work for the public. I'll be the what? I'm the figurehead, and he's the intro. Of like Cal's more of like the CEO. Like if we look at scaling, Cal's going to be the CEO of the business, and I'm going to be the one that maybe is the one that's making the content line, that's doing the podcast, that sort of deal of like really looking to like scale. And I'm not involved in the everydayness of it, but Cal's involved in the everydayness of it, managing a team. Like Cal's going to be much better and much healthier for if he's in charge of a whole sales team and videography team and someone's screwing up and they try and go and burn down the business. Don't talk to me. I'm going to be way too angry. Cal's going to be the one much more empathetic, much more down to earth, much more, okay, I'm sorry that this happened. How can I help you? Like he's going to be that guy that's going to be the rock in the business of like, hey, let's manage everyone here. Let's really help get this team going. And I'm going to probably be on the end of like, okay, where can I look to scale? Where's the big play going forward? Be the face of the organization, as things progress forward. But in terms of our relationship, like dynamic, I don't think anything's going to change. Like I can't see it changing. Like 90% of the conversations we have, like it goes from like business talk of like nitty gritty. Can we do this? Where are we going? How can we scale? What are we going to do on the sales call? X, Y, Z. And then it's just like joking around being dudes. You know what I mean? We're still 23-year-old guys. Like we screw around. We make jokes. Like half our relationship is literally just like cracking jokes, dying laughing, just like as we're supposed to be, organizing what we're going to be doing in our sales pitch tomorrow. So we still have that dynamic. I just think things are going to change in terms of what we're doing, how busy we are, maybe. But, other than that, I really don't see things changing. Maybe, but, as far as, next 10 years are concerned, I don't see things changing like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What do you guys ever argue, get to conflict?
We always get into conflict, but like we almost never argue. I mean, Cal actually lives with my mom in my mom's house now, so because it just makes things better for the business. But you know, whenever whenever we get into conflict, there's always like seasons, like mini seasons of like we're butting heads, but it's never like, oh fuck you, dude. It never ever gets to that point. We've
Yeah.
never even raised our voices at each other. That's never ever been the
Mhm.
case. Like there's complete trust here and there's complete emotional control here to the point where like if we get heated, it's always all right, we're gonna have this conversation later. Let's just drop it for now. I'll go eat. You go outside. Let's chill. We'll talk about it tonight. Okay, great. And like it's never like oh screw you, dude. I know what you're trying to
Yeah.
do. I know what you're like. It always comes from a place of like peace, and the undertone here is like we know regardless of what we think, or should we organize a call this way, should we reach out to these guys, should we charge them 500 or 600, like it's always with the undertone of like if we disagree on something fundamentally, it's because we have different sets of information, period, because our goals are the same. Our goals are the complete same. That never changes. Our goal is to maintain integrity and scale the fuck out of this business. That's it. And so if we disagree
Mhm.
on the semantics of the pricing or whatever we're going to do, it has to be because of the information, because we're never going to scam anybody. We're never going to, try and do something that's immoral. It's always going to be do it as much as we can, as best as we can, maintaining integrity. And we know that. That's never, ever, ever going to change. It's never even questioned. We never even talk about it because it's always just like, that's our belief fundamentally. It never gets questioned. So if we argue on
Mhm.
something or we disagree on something, it's like a, I'm getting kind of annoyed because he's not seeing things from my perspective. He's getting annoyed because I'm not seeing them from his perspective. But that doesn't mean we disagree. It means we don't have information that the other person has. Maybe we
Yeah.
disagree fundamentally in our perspective because he's more empathetic and I'm more aggressive with the way I handle things, or vice versa. Whatever it may be, we do know at the end of the day of like, we both want the same thing. Let's just figure this out. And there's a lot of times where, like, a good example might be like, if we're in someone's domain of expertise, if we get to the butting heads point and we kind of, all right, we have all the information, then we side with the other person. So, very perfect example, Cal is much better at video editing than me. He'll say, oh, no, you're good. I'm decent, but Cal's much better. He knows how to do the flashy stuff much better than me, whatever. And so if I'm editing a video and I like something and I'm like, oh, this transition looks really good. I'm like, I really like this. I'm going to do this. I really want to post it. And Cal looks at me like, he's not going to say it this way. He's be like, it sucks. He'll be like, oh, I don't like that. Maybe you could change this a little bit. And then I get offended. I'm like, oh, I don't like it. I spent a lot of time on this. I spent 6 hours editing this video, whatever. And then he gives me information on why not. I give him information on why. And we get to this, this middle road where we just don't agree. It's Cal's decision. It's his final say because he's the expert. End of story. Of like, I trust him. Again, we have the same goals here. We're going to do that, even if I like it less, because the goal is to scale a business with our integrity. And then if we get on the communication side of like, we're on a sales call. How do I write this email? How are we going to script this communication with the XYZ, executive or XYZ owner of, sports team? If we get to that 50-50 spot, it's my call, because it's just like, I'm the expert on the communications. I spend way more time doing that than he did. So we're just going to go with my word because we both trust each other. We both trust each other, period. End of story. Like a perfect example of that, of like an instantiation of how that's worked out, is when we started the business, I owned 100%. Technically, I own 100% of the business. Like if I wanted to legally, I could take all of his money that he's made from the business and just take it and go if I wanted to legally. Just because of how things started and tax reasons, it's just easier for it to work that way. Now I pay him as like a employee technically of CG Media. That's kind of how it works out. He's a 50-50 owner. He gets half. But I could take it away at any time if I just wanted to, legally. We never even think about that. I never think about it. He never thinks about it. It's like, no one cares. Like, we don't even like the money. Oh, great. Yeah, cool. We have an extra couple $1,000s in the bank account. Great. Oh, we made another $1,000. Great. None of it is like that. There's complete trust. There's never like do you think he's going to make a quick move to try and get this money and run? Like, it's never that. And so our relationship has flourished because of it. And so anytime we have a disagreement, to, get back full circle here, it's always we know we have the same outcome in mind. If we disagree, it's because of information. And if not, we go to who's the expert here, and we'll roll with that opinion. And that's it.
Wow, that sounds really healthy that you guys are able to recognize who is the expert in a specific category.
Yeah. Yeah, it's served us so well. And even at the end of the day, if we look back and it's the wrong decision, because in hindsight we have more information, at the right time, it's always the right decision. It can't not be. We don't have any more information. We tried our hardest. We gave it our best. We had as many conversations as we could. We couldn't find any more information. So right now, this is what we're going to roll with. You can't turn back time. That's it. We're going to make the best decision we can with integrity and hope for the best. And it's been working out. So, like, if it stops working out, maybe we'll pivot. But it's not going to stop working out because that's just the way things work. I don't know why. Who knows why? But we've been good people and we've been disciplined and things are working out tremendously. And so we're just going to keep doing that.
How did you come to a consensus on who was the expert in each area?
It wasn't, well, I mean, it was just kind of like a given of like, he knew, I didn't know anything about cameras or editing until he started teaching me. Like I remember the first day he taught me how to edit some, like my podcast even, or like edit like a video for like the CCSU dance team. I was sitting there and he was teaching me everything. Like I didn't know the language of editing at all.
Yeah.
He already was at step 100 and I was at step 0 and we kept progressing. So he's always going to be ahead of me. Maybe things will change. Who knows? But until that, until that flips and maybe I, for some reason, become a better editor because I have to spend 1,000 more hours than he does on editing, then maybe it will flip. I don't see it flipping, but it's just kind of like a given of like look at his final products, what he can create. and look at what I can create. Like if you said, hey, listen, you can't watch a YouTube video, can't take a tutorial, make the best video you can with this footage right now, he's going to smoke me. He's going to smoke me. It's not a question because he just knows more. And if we get into communications, like who can influence someone to give you their money, it's going to be me. I'll be Cal in that area. And that's just the way things have rolled out because I've made way more sales calls. I've sent more emails. I've communicated with more people. I also have a get for gab with it of like, I'm just kind of better naturally at making things concise in terms of, trying to influence people to, convince them of whatever X, Y, and Z in with integrity and with morality, of course. But that's just kind of where our expertise lies. And so it's like, it's kind of the way it is of like, just, acknowledge reality here, dog. Like if it's me versus LeBron in a one-on-one, like who are you taking? Who are you taking? Like sincerely. Or, okay, you can only get into the house through the small basement window. Is it me or is it LeBron? It's like, he's 6'10". It's going to be me. I got to go unlock the door because I'm the only one that can fit through the window. It's like to deny that's going to screw up your whole business. Oh, I wish I was taller. Okay, but you're not. You're not. I wish I was a better video editor. Okay, but you're not right now. So whose decision is it going to be? Again, like, what do you want for the business? Do you want to make more money and scale? Okay, so how about you just suck it up, drop the ego, and stop doing these corny transitions and just listen to Cal? Maybe that's the best move. Okay, great. And that's the move we'll take. Not coming from a specific example, of course. That's never happened. But yeah.
Yeah, I like your LeBron example, but I think that example kind of like it over it over highlights it, and I think that there is a important level of humility in your guys' relationship that you're able to acknowledge that to yourselves and also to each other.
Yeah, no, definitely. And honestly, like it's, with my personality and with, especially with before I started trying to get my shit together, my big thing was like, I could never admit when I was wrong. I could never admit. And like, it's still a battle for me. Like, even with like video editing, it's like Cal will know something. He'll know it looks like shit. And he'll come to me and he'll say it in a nice way. Maybe you could change this. Maybe you should change this. And I'm like, no, it's great. It's great. And like refuse to acknowledge reality because I made it. So, I sit on top of the world because I'm the Mr. Video Editor now. And it'll take him another 10, 20 minutes of like, hey, I don't think it looks good because of X, Y, and Z. And so that empathy has really helped me, give me a platform, so to speak, to be, to have more humility of like, okay, maybe he makes it softer, a landing softer for me to have, like, to drop the ego so it doesn't hurt as much so that when, my video sucks, he can say it nicely and I can take it a little easier. But at the end of the day, it's just, for you to, if you're going to be in a spot where you refuse to admit where you're more flawed or where somebody else is better than you, like that's just a recipe for a business that's going to go under 100%. Because like, if you want to make money, especially in a service-based industry, you need to have the best service possible and you need to be a great person and you need to be disciplined as hell. That's it. And so if that means our video needs to be edited by Cal and I can't take the credit for it, people are like, that video is sick. Who made it? And I got to be like, well, not me. And that ego is going to take a hit. Then so be it. So be it. And if you're not willing to do that, you're going to lose. You're just going to lose. And so for us, it's like, it's almost like enforced humility, but also through the fact, huge props to Cal for it. Like, he's really provided a great platform for it, especially with the level of empathy that he has for me to be in a spot where like I can admit I'm wrong. Because for him, it's no problem. He over admits when he's wrong, even when he's right. So, it's been a good balance, definitely. So
I love that term that you use, like enforced humility. It's like
yeah.
it's like it's it's exactly how you said it. It's like making humility more. It's like giving you a reward for humility.
So interesting. That's such a good way to think about it. Yeah. That's like exactly what you were talking about earlier of like how the wisdom is transferred into the doing of business. There's an example right there.
Wow.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Of like, it really has forced me. Yeah.
Yeah, go continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Do I what? No.
I was gonna say, were you guys able to recognize that in the moment, like the value of enforced humility?
It's interesting. I mean,
how
we haven't even.
How did you? or was that something that was like you just always did?
No, we haven't even really talked about it. It's not like a conscious choice. I think again, it's always just like, what's our outcome here? It's like
Hmm.
that's we want to build a massive company, and we want to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the best move on the chessboard here? Okay,
Mm,
okay. If it's to make a kick-ass video that it's gonna wipe this school off their feet, and then they're gonna give us their money, who's gonna make a better kick-ass video? Okay, if I have to edit
yeah.
because Cal's doing something else, who has a better perspective on making a kick-ass video? Not me. Okay, so shut your mouth and take the advice. That's it. That's it. It's like it.
Yeah.
What's gonna make what again? What's gonna scale the company? Doing it the right way. My advice or Cal's advice? It's a no-brainer. It's a
Mm,
no-brainer. And so like again, yeah, enforce humility. It's like it's weird because like I don't think, at least to my knowledge, we haven't really talked about it, but it's just an understanding of like we both want to win. That's it. Like we want to win. So like get as much information as we can. Maybe sometimes I have a better perspective on the video editing than he does. Occasionally that happens, right? Maybe he has a better perspective on communication. Occasionally that happens. And like, who cares? I don't care if a bird falls with a note from the sky that says this is what you should do and it's actually the best advice. Whoever gave me the advice, if it's the best move on the chessboard, or at least it seems that way, that's what we're gonna do. And if some random homeless person comes up to us that's never owned a business and gives us a piece of advice that should be the right thing to do, if it's the right thing to do, I don't care who it's coming from. It's the right thing to do. It's moral and it's scaling the business. So that's what we're gonna do. Period. Because the goal never changes. So why would you change your actions? The real is because you have an ego. You got an ego issue. That's like underlying that's always the real issue. Like you're afraid to admit that you're wrong because you don't feel like you're good enough. You're afraid to show people your flaws because you don't feel like you're good enough, and you want to show the world how good you are, and in return you lose. You show the world how bad you are. So yeah,
yeah. That's really fascinating. And it's almost like I just keep thinking about like that idea that you brought up about like enforced humility. And it's like
mm-hmm.
there's a right way of doing business that can not only be a profitable business, but also
Mm-hmm.
it can you can do it the right way and by doing so cultivate like deep and meaningful relationships
Oh yeah,
and grow.
oh
Like you
yeah.
said, like this is like you said this is like the vehicle in which you guys are putting all these concepts that you once talked about into practice and
Mm-hmm.
actually embodying them and living them.
Mm-hmm. That's such a. It's so weird that you tie. Not like weird, but it's like fascinating that you tied that all together. Because like I never even tied it together. Of like we were talking on the podcast for over a year, about a year and a half. All that's documented about our philosophies, helping me shape my philosophies, helping him shape his philosophies, and the way that he was, going about his life, the way that I was going about my life, and all of that connected perfectly to the point of like right before our graduation, we were like, let's do this, and we did it. And like those were the things that are now propelling this whole thing forward. Of like that was training. That was like that was, you want to talk about like prerequisites. That was the prerequisite. That podcast, all those podcast hours, all those conversations that we had in the dining hall, like all of that is what brought the business to the point where it is now. And like I never even thought about it that way. Like I always just thought like that's kind of how our relationship developed. But it was the perfect training ground to get the wisdom down, to get both of
Yeah.
our philosophies down to where like with 99% accuracy, I can tell you what I think Cal's going to think about a certain situation because I know who he is as a man. I know what he's going to think. I know his philosophies. I know the way he operates in terms of his mindset, and vice versa. And so it's served us tremendously well in business. I guess I never really thought about it concretely that way, but that's 100% the truth. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it's like you guys were getting the reps. Like you said you said you were getting the practice and you were getting the reps so that like when
Yeah.
it came to the realm of business, it's like you're bowling, right? And you have the guardrails up of like this is where I know I need to bowl. And like even if I'm like even if I don't get it right down the middle the first time, like I
Right.
know I can't go this far or I can't go that far.
Mm-hmm. 100%. 100%. And it also makes me think about the fact that, like, a lot of guys, they think about starting a business with their boy. Of like, I met Cal a couple years ago. Like I didn't grow up with Cal. He lived a couple towns over. I didn't know he existed until a couple years ago. I have friends that I'm very close with to this day, very close with that I've known for like 18 years that I'm very close with still that I would never start a business with. Never, ever. And so many, especially
Yeah.
dudes, get this idea that like because you've been boys with him for a long time that he's the right guy to start a business with. It's like really like for me, it's like if it's not a fuck yes, it's a hell no. Because when I take a look at Cal and the way that he exists as just a human being, business aside, it's a fuck yes. Like that's the dude. Like if anyone asks me, okay, who of your friends do you think I should take a page out of their book in terms of how I live my life, the habits that I cultivate? It's Cal. It's never anybody else. And if you take a look at your life and say, okay, would I want my son or daughter to be like your business partner? And the answer is even, well, not this aspect or maybe not that aspect. Do not go into business with that person. You're just setting up a bomb to go off a year down the road or 5 years down the road. And so for me, it's like if I could tell anybody for whoever's listening of like, if it's not a fuck yes of who you want to start your business with, it's an absolutely no. Do it alone
Yeah.
or wait till you find that person.
Well, what advice would you have for someone who's seeking out that co-founder or someone to start a business with?
I would say it's similar advice to how to find the one with the relationship, which is if you want to find the
This is.
one, right? If you want to find the one, you need to become the one. Because if you're a
Mm,
person who you want to have a relationship with, like, would you be in a relationship with you? Would you
mm,
really want to start a relationship with you? Would you really want to start a business with you? Like, think about it. Answer it honestly. Gut punch. Alone. No one's in the room. You don't have to tell a soul. Would you start a business with yourself? Do you wake up in the morning and you know, regardless of how you feel, you're going to make it happen today? Because I look at Cal and I know for a fact the answer is fuck yes. Always. Day in, day out. Always. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the gym, whether it's meditating, whether it's the things that he doesn't want to do, but he has to do, it gets done. And it's the same thing
yeah.
with me. It gets done. And so for me, again, it took me a couple years to become the person that deserved to go in business with somebody like Hal. Granted, we don't know anything about business, but we were the type of people that now are in a spot where like we can do it. Like I earned that. I would never start a business with any of my other friends. They haven't earned it. They're my friends. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be in great physical shape. They don't have to have the most discipline in the world. I love you. You're my friend. You're loyal. You have all these characteristics that make me want to have you in my life, but you're not the person I want to start a business with. And that's okay. But if you want to find the one, whether it's in a relationship or in business, you need to become the one. Because I can guarantee you, when you walk down the street or you have a conversation with somebody at the bar or whatever, you will have plenty of conversations with people that are sitting there thinking about how you should get your shit in check, but they're never going to tell you because they're nice. But those are the people you could have a business with. You just don't know they exist because you can't see them yet because you're not on that vibration. Because once you start getting your shit together, every conversation you have, you're going to see it. This person has their shit in check. This person does not. This person would be great to start a business with. This person would not. And once you start to have more and more conversations like that, while you're getting your shit together, you will realize the people that are on that vibration, those that aren't. It's far and few, obviously. That's why very few people make it in business. But until you get yourself to that vantage point, you will never be able to see who's there with you. Because you're looking up and all you see is the sun. That's it. When you can look across and you say, that's that motherfucker right there, that's Cal, this is the guy I'm willing to burn with business with, that then you know. You're not going to have to ask the question. You're going to the question you're going to be asking is, how did I get so lucky? That's the question you're going to be asking yourself. And if that's not the question, if the question is, will he take money or will he actually have the discipline to do X, Y, and Z when he's tired? It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. It's not worth it at all. So, yeah.
How does your personal relationship play a role in your relationship with your business
Like my personal relationship with Cal, you're saying?
or with your
My
girlfriend?
girlfriend? Um, funny because she's like the opposite of me almost. Like she doesn't care about the business. Like she wants me to do well, but she doesn't like care about making a lot of money. Like if I made $100 billion or $30,000 a year, she would be indifferent. If she's not starving and our kids, future kids, will be okay, she's fine. Like it doesn't matter at all. If she's driving a beat up Toyota and it gets her from point A to B, it doesn't matter if it's a Toyota or a Ferrari to her. And so to her, it's like we're very different. Not in the sense where we need material things. It doesn't really matter to either one of us. But like she's not very like go after it. Let's scale this thing. Let's compete. Let's win. Like she's not like that. She's like, let's chill. I want to hang out with you. Like I want to spend quality time with you. And I'm very like, okay, great, but then let me make a couple calls first. And so like she balances me out. She brings me to this point of like, oftentimes where when I'm not at peace and I don't even know I'm not at peace, like she's like, hey, like what's going on? Like you're rattled right now. Like you got too much going on in here. You got to shut the computer down for a sec. And like she really helps balance me out in that way of like she really keeps my feet on the ground in terms of like, okay, like what really matters here? Like you haven't spoken to your parents in days. Like let's really take a look at the things that matter. And she really helps keep my feet grounded of like, yeah, the business is great, but at the end of the day, it's a game. It's still a game. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot we could do with it. We make a lot of money. We donate it. We help a lot of people. We help we help the world be a better place with the amount of resources we can accumulate. Yes, that matters. But also like what matters is oftentimes what's right in front of you, And so she really helps bring that side out of me of like, okay, like, bro, take a step back. Like, yes, it's great to work. Yes, you could do stuff to scale right now, but like looking back when you're 90, 100 years old and you're on your deathbed, like, did you spend your time doing the things that matter? Did you or did you not? And like, she's the type of woman that's going to be like, Jay, you need to see your kids now. Like, you have to do this thing. You have to go to this baseball game. I don't care if you can make another $1 million off this meeting. These are the things you can't get back. And so she really, really helps balance me out in that sense of like, hey, let's like take a look at the things that matter. And she has her shit in check to agree that's arguably more than me. And, I admire her for that. And she really brings out that, she brings me that peace. Like we never, of course we have our disputes and arguments, but like she's so at peace. She's so chill. She's so laid back. She's quiet, but she's very like, when I'm around her, like I breathe from like my stomach. I breathe deep. There's no anxiety. There's no bullshit. Like we've never had a conversation of like, I don't want you going to the club. Who are you talking? Oh my Lord. Never, ever, any of that kind of stuff. It's just peace, serenity. It's not like we're walking on the clouds. We have our normal shit that we deal with in a relationship, but it's so like peace oriented. So like, okay, when my hands are off the business, they're off the business. I'm in a different mindset. I'm laying down. I'm watching a movie. Like I'm just living my life, doing the things that when you look back, you're like, I'm glad I did those things. And so she really helps balance me out, and I admire her for it. But as things scale, and I've said this before. I don't know how much I've said it publicly or relatively publicly. Well, like I don't know where I'm going to be at in terms of like if I become the face of the business and things scale and I have a lot of followers, where who cares? People know my face or recognize my face. I don't know how A, how thrilled she's going to be with that, but B, how much I'm going to want to like involve her in that, or how much she'd want to be involved in that. So, we'll see where that turns in terms of, if the business and myself and Cal gain more, popularity, so to speak, in the right way, doing it the right way, how much she's going to be, a part of that, whether or not she wants to keep to herself more. And we have to manage our relationship dynamic that way. But as of now, things are great. She really helps balance me out, and it's been one of the things that helps the business grow more. Because when I can take my hands off and be at peace and reset, it helps me thrive more in the business. Ironically, so she's been great. She is a blessing. She is a blessing. It's for sure.
Well, I think that's it's a good place to end. So thank you for coming on my podcast and for talking about your mission and your purpose in work and your relationship and with Cal and in your girlfriend. So
thanks, man. I really
you.
appreciate it. And again, I would say to anybody listening of like, don't, if you're listening to me, great. If I can provide you any value, great. But there are people that have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years more wisdom than me. And like, if I can provide you any value, Great. I hope I can. Maybe there's a 20-year-old out there that can relate to me more. Great. Maybe there's a podcast for you. But I will say this, especially from a business sense, of like, don't take my word for it. Like, I hope you get views. I hope people share your stuff, and I hope this helps you grow in any way I possibly can. But I also would say, with as much humility as I can possibly have, listen to somebody else. Like, you want business advice? Like, go to Alex Hormozzi's YouTube channel and watch every single video. Seriously, he doesn't even know I exist. I'm not gaining anything from this. Like, you want real advice? That's the advice you should listen to, right? Again, take what I can. Like, if there's any value you can get of it, great. But take it with a grain of salt. I'm still in my mom's backyard right now. You know what I mean? I'm happy. My life's great. I'm very blessed, and I'm very, my life is. I'm so grateful for my life. But again, like, take it for what it's worth. But thank you so much for having me on. Like, I sincerely appreciate it. It's been a great conversation. I always love connecting with you, man. Like, I know great things are coming for you as well, and it's only a matter of time, dude. We've only known you for a short period of time, so it's only a matter of time.